The arena lights blazed down in a harsh, almost blinding white. The air smelled of sweat, adrenaline, and the metallic tang of anticipation. The cage stood in the center like an unforgiving beast, surrounded by thousands of screaming fans. The announcer's voice echoed through the sound system, hyping up the main event of the night. At that moment, all eyes were on a single figure, the reigning MMA world champion, Axel, the Anvil, Kane. Axel was a beast of a man, 6'4", rippling with muscle, his face carved by years of battle. His stare was cold, calculated, and unapologetically confident. Every movement dripped with dominance, and he knew it. The crowd adored him, feared him, and, in many ways, depended on him to deliver the kind of violence they paid to see. He was undefeated for 7 years. No one came close. Tonight, the arena pulsed with the familiar narrative, another challenger about to fall under the weight of his fists. But down in the fourth row, sitting away from the spotlight, was a man who didn't belong to the show, or so everyone thought. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with skin the color of polished mahogany, wearing a plain gray hoodie and dark jeans. His hair was cropped close, his eyes hidden beneath the shadow of his cap. While the rest of the audience erupted in chants, he remained still, hands folded in front of him, watching with an unsettling calm. His name was Darius Cole. No one in the arena recognized him, not the fans, not the commentators, not even the match officials. But there was something in his stillness, in the way he sat, that seemed out of place in the chaos. He didn't lean forward to take a picture or hold up a phone to record. He simply watched. The fight went as predicted. Axel tore through his opponent in less than 2 rounds, a blur of hooks, knees, and ground and pound until the referee was forced to step in. The roar that followed shook the building, but Axel barely acknowledged it. He didn't raise his hands to the crowd as usual. He didn't even flash that trademark smirk for the cameras. Instead, as the announcer declared his victory, Axel stepped toward the cage wall and locked eyes with someone beyond it. It was Darius. At first, the crowd thought Axel was glaring at some heckler in the audience. But the champion's expression wasn't angry. It was tense. Curious. Almost uncertain. Axel climbed the cage wall, stood balanced on the top for a heartbeat, and then raised his right hand. Slowly, deliberately, he pointed directly at the black man in the hoodie. A hush swept through the arena like a wave. Thousands of voices died mid-shout. Even the commentators, so quick with their banter, went silent. The cameras, smelling drama, swung to follow the line of Axel's finger until they landed on Darius, still seated, still calm. And then Axel said it. Loud enough for the nearest microphones to catch, his voice cutting through the stunned air. "You. I know who you are." It wasn't shouted in anger. It wasn't a challenge. It was a statement, heavy with meaning, as if Axel had just uncovered something the rest of the world had forgotten. The crowd erupted in confusion. Some shouted, "Who is he?" Others laughed, thinking it was some publicity stunt. But Axel didn't move his hand. His gaze never left Darius. And for the first time in years, the champion's confident composure seemed shaken. Darius, however, didn't react the way most would when called out by the most feared fighter in the world. He didn't stand, didn't wave, didn't even look around as if to confirm Axel meant him. He simply met the champion's stare and gave the smallest, almost imperceptible nod. That nod made Axel's jaw tighten. Security glanced at each other, unsure if they were about to witness some unplanned confrontation. The announcer tried to steer the attention back to the victory, but the moment had already stolen the show. Every camera in the arena was locked onto Darius now. Social media feeds lit up instantly, captions flying, "Who's the man Axel pointed at? Why does the champ look nervous?" Backstage, when Axel left the cage, reporters swarmed him. "Who was that man? What did you mean?" But Axel brushed past them, muttering only, "Some people don't belong in the shadows." Meanwhile, Darius stood quietly from his seat. The fans parted unconsciously, unsure if they should cheer, jeer, or keep their distance. He walked toward the exit, his pace steady, every movement deliberate. No security stopped him, though they seemed tempted to, and no one dared to put a hand on him. There was something about him, something in the way he carried himself, that commanded silent respect. What the crowd didn't know was this. Before Axel Kane was the MMA champion, before he was the face on billboards and pay-per-view posters, before he was untouchable, he had once been a desperate 19-year-old on the edge of destruction. And Darius Cole had been the man who stood in his way. But that was a story Axel had buried for over a decade. Tonight, under the blinding lights and roaring crowd, that story had just walked back into his life. And the way Axel's voice had cracked when he spoke made one thing clear: it wasn't a story he was ready to face. The world had just witnessed a brief, charged moment without understanding its weight. But those who truly knew either man, and there were very few, would have recognized the tension immediately. They would have known that when Axel pointed at Darius and spoke, it wasn't an invitation. It was a warning.